All right, everyone, welcome to today's session, Teach to Sell with Dan Rochon. He is the creator of the Teach to Sell system and the founder of CPI Community. After going broke and getting stuck in building, he is now consistent in his real estate business. Dan has helped hundreds of agents achieve success and no broke months, which is what he's going to be teaching us today. He is a big advocate for story-driven sales, and you can get a copy of his Teach to Sell book, Why Top Performers Never Sell and What They Do Instead, published by Simon and Schuster's, by visiting teachtosellbook.com. Dan, thanks for being here today.
Yay! Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you very much. All right. Hello, Jane. Hello, Desiree and Paula and JC and Kate again, and then other people there are with me. I brought peoples with me. I brought my posse with me. Annie, hello. All right. Marilyn's joining us. All right. My name is Dan Roshan, as Kate said, and I'm here to be able to help you to be able to create more predictable income by leading conversations through education, clarity, and relationship rather than selling. So I love that we have a smaller group today because it's going to really let us to really dive into this deep. I'm curious because we're just meeting. So who here I'm gonna share with you some things that you may be experiencing, and I'm just curious of what you are experiencing. So you're either in a spot right now where you're trying to figure out what to do to be able to do sales, or you're at the place where you're getting sporadic sales once every 3 months. You have 1 to 3 closings, or you have consistent sales and you're challenged with scaling and getting the support and systems around you. So, of those options, does anybody not relate to one of those options? I guess that's the easiest way for me to ask that in a group setting. Did I cover everybody's, like, this is what I'm dealing with? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Why don't we do this? We'll put it in the chat. That way we all know if you're willing to, right? Like, I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable by saying, hey, here's my deepest desires and fears, right? But if you're comfortable, put into the chat of those options that I gave you. There is one other option, which would be that you have an effective team working for you. And you're challenged with leadership to be able to scale. But that's a pretty uncommon one. It's really like a top echelon in our businesses. So I sort of left that out, and we're talking like 1% of 1%. And so, all right, so let's read some of these. Let's read some of these out loud, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the diving. Jump into the diving. We'll dive into the instruction. That's really that's a professional instructor. At least I'm not eating Cheetos right now. All right, so here's what we got. So we got Andy saying inconsistent and need better systems. All right, great. And Desiree, inconsistent. Okay, I don't sell more, but creating efficient systems while in production was always my biggest struggle. Okay, so in the past, fantastic. And have inconsistent sales and need to incorporate better systems, scaling my business to sell more. Okay, so we are so far of what efficient systems. I love it. Thank you, Marilyn. Okay, so where we're at is we're either in a position that we are looking to be able to generate more business, or we're in a place that we want to generate more consistency. Okay, so it seems that based on what I just heard you say there, I think that that's even a tighter, like we either want more business or we want more consistency. All right, we all good with that? All right, and if I didn't say hello to you, Cindy and Marilyn and Paula, I'm not sure if I said hello. Um, hello, I saved the best for the last, but don't tell the people that are already here because they're the best. So now I just put myself in a predicament I do not want to be in. So I'm going to stop talking about that. I'm going to start instructing instead. So that being said, let me share my screen with you. And I'm going to send a request there for you, Kate. All right, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and share the screen. And I'd love to get some feedback as we go through here. So so today we're gonna talk about Teach to Sell. I'm gonna tell you what Teach to Sell is, why top agents never sell, and what they do instead. Why should you listen to me? I'm an active real estate broker, agent. I have been in this business since 2007. I've had a whole bunch of like really cool stuff that I've done, like owning brokerages and joint ventures, mortgage companies, title companies, who cares, yada, yada, yada. What I'm most proud of in business is that since 2008, I've had no broke months as a real estate agent. And that's not agents through my brokerage. That's my personal book of business. And many of those months averaging 10 sales. And so when I discovered that a few years ago, I had one of my mentors, one of my coaches that was having a conversation like this. And he asked me, he said, Dan, what is it that you do that you're most proud of, that you can help other people to do? And I recognize, well, in reality, there's very, very few of us, only the really crazy ones of us actually ever want to own a brokerage. Okay, so that's some of us, right? But I can tell you this: if that is something that you aspire to do, I respect you very much, and I want you to have 5 conversations with somebody who's 55 years old, who's already owned a brokerage, and I want you to ask them about their experience. Okay, and so, boom. Now, that may also help you to appreciate the brokers and the support and the leadership that you have in front of you. Because as hard as real estate sales is, real estate brokerage business is harder. I've done both. Okay. So we really want to honor Kate. We really want to honor your leadership. We really want to honor everybody here that is pouring into you and bringing you, not me, but bringing you great presentations, such as myself. Hello, Mr. Darian. All right. Nice to see you, sir. All right. So, why top agents never sell and what they do instead is what we're going to be talking about today. So, today we already talked about some of your challenges, right? So, unpredictable income, lead generation, rejection, lack of confidence. As I go through these, I want everybody to put in, because this is going to be interactive, and we're going to really I'm going to ask for you guys to talk here in a bit, because I really want you to get a lot out of this conversation, and we're going to dive into this deeply. You're going to have a benefit today where you're going to have a forward momentum, a forward movement. And so type into the chat right now, what of those is the most challenging for you? Is it unpredictable income, lead generation or prospecting, rejection, lack of confidence, and we can add on there a lack of support. So go ahead and type that in the chat right now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to be able to break through this. So I'm going to wait for you to chat, and then we're going to get into the first instruction. Let me grab my whiteboard. All right, so here we go. So to be successful in business, you've got to first believe in yourself. If you don't believe that what I just said is true, I wrote a book, we'll talk about it later, Teach to Sell. Half of this book right here is about belief, more than half of it. Okay. So you sit there and say, okay, great. Well, Dan believes that it's belief, that's the foundation. If I want to have consistent sales, if I want to be able to scale and grow my organization, if I want to be able to lead better, then Dan's telling me that I have to have a belief system. Well, what does Dan know about that? Okay. Well, through studying years and years, decades of studying top performing salespeople, by being a top performing salesperson myself, by having the consistency from 2008 all the way up to today, with many of those months, 10 plus transactions, I've discovered what it takes to be able to be successful and consistent in sales. Okay. And what I've discovered, and it's not like a discovery, but more of a recognition, is that belief is where it starts. So I'm going to ask everyone to take out a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, play along. I promise you this exercise we're going to go through here is going to have the opportunity to define and change your life. And I'm not BSing there. I'm not blowing smoke up anything. I'm telling you for real, this concept that I'm about to teach you will transform your life. And you want to make sure that you're using this transformation for the power of good. So that's anything that I teach you today. That's what you want to be able to discover. All right. I see some people still sort of rummaging around. All right. Annie's with us. And let's rock and roll. Thank you for being so persevering, Annie, to find that I saw you like going through every drawer back there. Okay. So I want everybody here to write down a word on the top of your paper. Hopefully you have a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and I want you to write down the word circumstance. And what you're going to learn now is you're going to learn what psychologists call the self-coaching model. I'll put that in the middle here so we know what we're talking about. So this is the self-coaching model that we're learning. And this has been, I don't know I probably should know who developed this. I don't. But nonetheless, it's well adopted in the psychology community. So this is the way that we go through life. So I'm going to give you the way that we go through life, which is going to be helpful for you internally. It's also going to be helpful to you externally. Because when you understand that your clients, your prospects, your vendors, your title people, your lenders, when you understand that we all go through this, and yourself as well, then you can start observing and you could be able to create better outcomes. So, what happens in life is that there's a circumstance, something happens, and you perceive that circumstance through your five senses. Okay, so right now you're listening to me, and you may be, I'm starting to dig what he's saying. You may be listening to me like, I really want him to get going and actually start giving me some good information. You're hearing me. Maybe there's a dog in the background. You're paying attention to the dog. Maybe there's a dog in the background. And you're smelling the dog, right? Whatever the case may be, there's that dog. Jane's got that dog, right? Whatever the case may be, there's something in your world that you're perceiving through your senses. And right now we have 4, 8, 16, 18 people here all together. And we have 18 different experiences that are simultaneously happening. And so we're observing. So we're 18 different observations of the circumstance right here. Then catch this. We have 18 different experiences in our lives, 18 different cultures, 18 different upbringings, education, experiences, which help us assign meaning to life, which help us assign what life means to us. And when we do that, we take our experiences and we transfer them into the information that we're receiving through our five senses. All right, you guys all with me so far? So understanding that will allow for you to pay better attention to what's going on inside, and also just to be observant that, hey, I said ABC and Desiree heard DEF. Does that make Desiree wrong? No. That makes two different people for two different experiences. But if I'm the communicator, then I've got to be responsible for the communication for the response that I get. So when I'm communicating here, and I'm going to ask in a second, when I'm all done with this, I'm going to ask for your feedback. If the feedback that I get is like, I'm going to draw out this map over here, and it's going to be like a clock going clockwise. And let's say I get the feedback and it's going counterclockwise. Whose fault is that? Nobody's fault. Whose responsibility is it? Mine. Now, that being said, in your communication, who's responsible for your communication? You. Okay. And I intentionally said the word fault because that's where a lot of people go to is fault. And it's not about fault, it's about responsibility. When you take on the responsibility that your communication is the response that you get, and when you take that on at a high level, you'll discover that you'll have better communication. So the circumstance, and then that goes through all those filters we talked about based off of who you are and the life that you've lived. And then we're going to have a thought about it. We cannot necessarily in the instant control our first thought. However, we could do two things. We could control our second thought, and we can train our first thought to be a better thought. I'm going to give you some hacks at the end of this presentation on how, this section of the presentation, on how you can be able to improve your first thought. And if you are in a situation right now where you have a first thought, and that first thought is one that's not great, there's nothing wrong. Take a time and edit it, and then have a better second thought. We all have the ability to do that. And then again, I'll give you some hacks on how to get a better first thought. That's sort of instinctual, like it's subconscious. It's hard to control that, but it's not hard to guide it. Once you have a thought, then you're going to have a feeling. So if you're writing on your piece of paper, I want you to have these three words written. You can label it anywhere with a self-coaching model, but you should have a circumstance, thought, feeling. If that thought is an empowering thought, what type of feeling do you think you're going to have? Shout it out, somebody. Take yourself off mute, shout it out. This is
Like a positive.
Positive.
an empowering thought. If you have an empowering emotion, if you have an empowering thought, you're going to have an empowering emotion. If you have a happy thought, you're going to have a happy emotion. If you have a spiteful thought, you're going to have a spiteful emotion. If you have a jealous thought, you're going to have a jealous emotion. Okay, whatever your thought is going to show up in your emotion. Consider your emotion. This is great that you're learning this right now, as like a barometer or a thermometer or a measuring stick. And what is it measuring? Your emotions are measuring your thoughts. So if you go through life happy, I guarantee you, I can look at you and say, "Man, she has happy thoughts." And if you go through life grumpy, I'm not going to pick on Darian, but let's say Bob was here, and I say, Bob has grumpy thoughts. Okay, right? So the way that the way that your feelings are showing up in your body is a feedback loop to your thoughts. If you want to have better feelings, change your thoughts. All right, we're going to continue on with this. So the circumstance leads to the thought. The thought leads to the feeling. The feeling leads to the actions. And the actions lead to the result. All right. This is what the self-coaching model is. Now, when you look at this and you look at the arrows, what do you notice about the arrows? Who notices something about the arrows? Is it a closed loop, or is it like, can you just keep going and going and going?
It's a circle,
You
it
see how
doesn't
it's
end.
all connected? Yeah, right? That right there is why we get the same results over and over and over in our lives. It's why we have a challenge to break through that ceiling of achievement. So we started the conversation talking about the different phases of a real estate agent. The first phase is, how do I get leads? How do I get business? And the reality of it is the majority, far greater than 90%, never figure that out. Okay, and that's unfortunate. But because you're here right now, it demonstrates that you've either already figured it out, you're figuring it out, or you're committed to figuring it out. Yet, if any of us has the thought of lead generation is hard, this economy is hard, the government sucks, the whatever sucks, whatever the case may be, interest rates still don't go down, they're going up, whatever the case may be, then you're going to feel bad about it. And then guess what? What type of actions are you going to think when you have a bad thought leading to a bad feeling, leading to what? Bad actions. So if you want to change your actions, what do? You change your feelings. If you want to change your feelings, what do? You change your thought. We all have the ability to be able to manage our thoughts, to be able to create a different future. And because it's a closed loop, that's why we hit that ceiling of achievement. So now, how do you get past the ceiling of achievement? This will help you get past the ceiling of achievement because it will alter your thoughts. And I shared with you previously that there's two things that you can control. It's your second thought and your programming for your first thought. To change your programming for your first thought, you want to do things that are going to consciously program your subconscious being. That's why, if you've ever heard of meditation, visualization, affirmations, now let me write it up on the board for you. So, I'll say, so visualization, affirmation, meditation, exercise, prayer, relationships, Reading. What do you read, you ask? Well, thank you so much for asking. I'm here to tell you about what to read. Thank you very much. Just sorry. I had to be that cheesy salesperson. Don't do that in sales. Reading, podcast. What do we miss here? We got visualization, affirmations, meditation, reading, relationship podcast, more along that line. Okay.
I just want to recommend Kate for the podcast also.
I was just on it the other day.
She was. Darren, we got to get you on. We got to get you on. All right. So these are the things here that can program yourself to be able to start having natural, better thoughts. Okay, because if you think about this, if you think of your brain like a machine, and it's in two components, you have your consciousness and you have your subconsciousness. We go through lives the majority of our days in a subconscious state. I've studied hypnosis. I've studied neurolinguistic programming. And what I've discovered in the study of hypnosis is that we're all hypnotized every single day. That's when you drive to the Starbucks and you get there and you order a venti, whatever it is, and you get home and you're like, how the heck did I get this cup of coffee in my hand? And I'm home and I don't even remember doing anything. Were you safe? Absolutely. Now, I don't recommend it. If you could, maybe pay attention would be better. But you're in a subconscious state while you're driving there, while you're driving back, and that is what a hypnotized state is. So you're not necessarily, you feel like you're on autopilot. And that's the way we live our lives. But what we want to do is we want to get something different out of life. And so when you're conscious, you can program your subconscious to now be able to serve your body, your physical being, your spiritual being, your everything, to be able to serve you at a higher level. Okay, so that is the hack. And now I'm going to give you a functional hack that you could be able to use in real life. When I started to study this and I started to implement this into my life, one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to have an opportunity to be able to check in on a daily basis multiple times. And I'm going to give you 3 things that I check in with 5 to 6 times a day, every day. And when I first started this, I would set an alarm on my phone, and then what would happen is my alarm would go off and I'm teaching or whatever, and I'm not able to do what I'm supposed to do, which I'm going to tell you what that is here in a second. But I figured, I said, there's got to be a better alarm than this. And there is. We all have that same alarm clock. The next time you use the restroom and you wash your hands, yes, wash your hands. When that water hits your hands, I want that to be an anchor from this point moving forward. This is going to transform your life. I guarantee it. To ask yourself 3 things. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I about to do? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I about to do? When you observe on those 3 things 5 to 6 times a day, you will train yourself to have better thoughts. Because what you're going to notice first is probably going to be your feelings. All right, so I ask it in this order because that's the order that it actually functions. But the order of the observation typically is going to go feelings, thoughts, action. But the way that it really works is thoughts, feelings, action. So that's why I'm training you to be able to ask it in that way. So what you're probably going to observe is a feeling first, like, I feel like crap. All right, well, what am I thinking? I'm thinking that, a guy cut out in front of me in traffic and that was crappy. Now just observe. I'm not saying do anything else. Just the fact that you observe that will demonstrate that you have the ability to change it. And now you can say, you know what? Who cares? I'm safe. They're safe. The only person that cares about this is me that's assigning the meaning. That's it. And you get the choice to be able to change that. So 5 to 6 times a day, I already gave you your alarm clock. I already gave you the anchor. That water hits your hands. I want you to remember, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I about to do? I want to hear some feedback, some ahas about this exercise, about this curriculum, because this is fundamental. For you to be able to lead generate, you got to get the mind first. For you to be able to build a business, you got to get the mind first. For you to be able to scale a business, lead a business, have a profitable business, you got to get the mind first. What are your ahas from this? Because I really want to make sure you get that before we build upon this. Darren, what you got on that?
Yeah, I really like the idea of there are certain things that are out of your control, but one thing you can control is the second thought, even though you may not have been able to control the circumstance of the first one and the mechanism that leads you to the first thought. So you can, that's your way of getting in there preemptively. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah, and remember, when you meditate, affirm, when you do all these things on a regular, habitual basis, then that first thought's good. You'll notice that first thought's going to become a better and better thought. What else? Who else has something to share? I'd like to hear from from a few of you if possible. And thank you for everyone that's on videos. And I recognize that not everybody can be on video, but if you can, I promise you'll get a lot more out of this presentation. The mere fact that you're here demonstrates that you want to get a lot of this presentation. So turn yourselves on videos if you can. Let me hear from a couple more people. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings about what I just shared with you?
I have two thoughts, but one of them is as you were saying that towards the end, when we were talking about washing the hands, I was thinking about social media because right before I got on this call, I was just kind of scrolling and I had a moment where I was like, man, all of a sudden I'm feeling like I need to be working out more and I need to be posting more on social media. And I just had this moment where I'm like, I only feel this way because I was just scrolling. And so I think just as a side note, that was something I was thinking about is like, it also is relevant to say, what was I just doing that's making me feel this way? And sometimes just recognizing it in the moment, being like, okay, well, that's enough of that. And let me take action that makes me feel differently. So that was one thought that I had. But I think the other thing I was thinking as you were talking about this is just the power of change, right? Like you were talking, we get stuck in our little cycles. And so sometimes simply like changing our routine, whether it's as small as going to a different coffee shop or having a, meeting someone new or changing a location, like just the power of intentional change or sometimes unintentional. Sometimes it just, we stumble our way into it, but that can create new circumstances, which then change our beliefs and kind of recreate a new cycle. So those were kind of my takeaways.
Kate's getting the real root of it. So I'm working on changing the thought, and Kate's working on changing the circumstance, and that's great. And that is where we should start. And of all of these, the only thing that we can control is the thought, right? That's the one that you can impact because you can't necessarily always change your circumstance. But I love Kate's the way your mind works. It's like, can I change the circumstance? Can I no longer be doom scrolling on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, right? TikTok, right? Can I eliminate that from my life? And the answer to that is yes. And then it's like, will I eliminate it from my life? As an argument, my therapist and I get in an argument every single Friday, and because I'm still watching TV at night, and I'm like, sorry, I like it. She doesn't approve. Either way, so I love those feedbacks, and let's move on. And so now that we have like a foundation of like in a tool, okay, so like what I want to do is I don't want to teach you like, hey, believe in yourself, rah rah. No, I want to teach you like here is something that you could actually use to be able to improve your life. And I hope that all of you wrote this down and that all of you are choosing to focus on what's my circumstance? Can I change that? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I about to do? And when you do that, I'm giving you a mechanism when that water hits your hands. That's when you do it. When you do that, I'm asking every single one of you, and I'm committed that 100% of you take on this mission to do that for the next 7 days. And when you do that for the next 7 days, you're going to do it for the rest of your life. And I want you to tell other people about it because I'm on a mission to transform this world. And when I'm able to start at the basics of saying, hey, here's the tools, and then also ask for you to pass that along. So now that we have oh, by the way, would you be willing to do that? I should ask for some commitment here, huh? Would you be willing to do that? Would you be willing to embrace that for 7 days and just observe and see what happens and when it transform your life to share it with others? Yes? Put a 1 in the chat if you're willing to do that. Put a 1, put a 1, put a 1, put a 1, put a 1. All right. Put a 1, put a 1, put a 1, put a 1, put a 1. All right. So this is the little so this is belief. So when you have belief, what we're doing today is we're learning how to be able to build this business. Then now you got the foundation to be able to lead generate. And you can see there for lead generation, that's going to get you some money. Before we talk about lead generation, we have to understand that this is the typical cycle of an agent's business. All right. This is what most agents' businesses look like. There's three versions of this. There is version one. Most successful business, real estate agents. Most agents look like zeros. All right. That's the reality of most agents. Okay. Because they either don't believe in themselves or they don't figure out how to lead generate. I'm going to give you, at the very least, enough today for you to be able to get check marks all the way across that board there. Okay. And so to be able to get check marks across that board, then you have to do two things. You have to first know how to find business. We'll talk about that. I'm going to do an exercise on that here in a second. And secondly, you have to be able to have a foundation of belief to changes from that sporadicness to green check marks all the way across. All right. So imagine, like, if you look at mine, you have green check marks all the way across, all the way to 2008, right? Like, that's a lot of consistency. So believe me to say this to you, because before I got my real estate license, was a drunk waiter at the Capitol Grill in Washington, D.C., just stumbling across life. Okay. I transformed my life around 20 years ago. And if that drunk waiter can be able to have consistent sales for almost 20 years, guess what? So can you. So here's how you're going to do it. Does anybody, and it's okay if you're not comfortable shouting out or whatever. Was anybody here having a challenge to be able to find business? And it's okay if you don't want to say yes, because that may make you look bad or whatever. But if anybody willing to say, yeah, I sort of struggle with that? A couple of you do?
I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Awesome.
I have a good history with people, and most of my business is by referral, but it comes either in waves or it trickles in. It's nothing that's ever really consistent.
Jane, I don't know you, and I know your problem.
Okay.
Okay. And let me transfer that. Sorry. Jane, I don't know you, and I know your opportunity.
Okay.
All right. So excuse me
Please
for,
share.
excuse me for correcting that. Yeah, I know your problem. That was bad. That's bad instructor. I got to go back to instructor
Okay.
school. All right. So if you are like Jane and you struggle and you're in a relationship business, the challenge that you have with a relationship business is that it's 100% dependent on circumstance. And that's the circumstance of those relationships. Will they sell and are they ready to sell? Which means that you're just at the whim of like the relationships. So that in of itself sets you up for inconsistency. Now, oh, by the way, having a relationship-based business is freaking awesome. It's one of the best businesses in the world to have. It's just not predictable. So I would consider to add some sort of more assertive way to supplement the relationship business. Don't do anything different. If you're getting business from relationship, keep doing it. Keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. Just consider to add something that's a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more proactive. Jane, is that okay that I share that in that way? Does that seem like I'm hitting the mark when I say about the relationship based?
No, that's true. It absolutely is true.
Okay. So, and that's okay. And again, we all want those relationships because it's easy business. They appreciate you. I mean, it's just so much better to work with friends. It just really is. That being said, I want everyone to take out a new piece of paper if you could. And I'm gonna write down some, and we're gonna play a game together. So I want you, before we play that game, Kate, I got till noon, right? All right, good, 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 good. All right. What I want you to do before we play that game is I want you to write down, if your husband, your wife, your partner, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister, best friend, boss, colleague, if they said to you, JC, you are great at doing X, what would X be? I want everybody to write down X. First thing that came to your mind. Don't overthink it right now. You are great at. Now, start brainstorming from that. Look at what you just wrote down. What else are you great at doing? What do you enjoy doing? What gives you energy? And we're not talking about real estate sales here necessarily. We're talking about life. Do you love flying kites? I don't think I've ever gotten that. I don't know where that came from. Do you love what is it? A pickleball, right? Do you like me? Do you like going to the gym? Do you like swimming? Do you like the nature? Like, just what are all the things about life that you like? Write it down. What are you really, really good at doing? Write it down. What do If you went to that Starbucks we talked about earlier, what's the barista going to say about you? She or he is great at this, or something nice about you. Everybody write that down because it's going to be critical. I'm giving you the recipe, everybody. I'm telling you, this is the recipe. It works. All right. So now that we wrote all that down, I'm going to erase this. Anybody want to take a screen grab? If you want, we'll get Kate the slides, and she can share the slides. And this is anything I'm teaching here is on the slides. I'm just using this instead of the slides because I think it's more interactive. So take that piece of paper, put it away. We're going to get a new piece of paper, but this one, I'm going to ask for you to take a screenshot and after we're done with this next little project, but you can either write it down or just take a screenshot when we're done. How are the ways that a real estate agent can get business? I'm going to tie these two things here in a second. I will start, and then I want you guys to just start shouting out for me. Here's are some ways that a real estate agent can get business. For sale by owners. Facebook. We're going to do Facebook ads, Facebook communities, Facebook interactions.
Sphere.
Good. Sphere. Start shouting out. What you guys
Open
got? Shout out.
houses.
What's that?
Open houses.
Open houses. Love it. How else?
Referrals.
Referrals from who?
Other agents.
All right. So agent referrals. What else?
Referrals from past clients.
Past clients. What else?
Networking.
Love it. Networking. What else?
Expireds.
Expires. Expires. I do expires. Just saying. I'm one of the weird ones. All right. Expires. What else?
Events.
Events. Love it. What else?
I do like cycle tracking. I don't know how to explain what that is, but like if you have on average, people sell a home every 7 years. I look at communities that were built out 7 years ago, and then I farm those communities.
Likely to sell.
Love that.
Would that
Clubs.
be right, Darren? Like likely to sell because of either age of time or equity or something like that, or
Cyclical
distress.
changes. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So likely to sell. I'm going to put in distressed. I'm going to put in REOs. That's bank owned properties, real estate owned. I'm going to put down short sales. So these are some niches. So I heard something I didn't catch it.
Death
Clubs.
to
Things that you're doing with other people.
Marilyn first, then Annie, because Marilyn, what'd you say?
I'm sorry. I was going to say death, divorce, diapers.
All right. So we'll call that probate, and we'll call that divorce. Probate, divorce.
Diapers.
And what was that?
Diapers.
Diapers. Okay. New babies. So why don't we change that to life changes? All right. So that could be senior living, for example. That could be first-time home buyers, which would be sort of the babies, first-time home. So again, these are so how can you get first-time home buyers? Maybe do like a workshop.
Mhm.
So,
Diamonds.
like, what was that?
Diamonds. So engagements. Yeah, life
Engagements?
changes.
All right, yeah. So all that sort of I'm writing it down because it's great, but all that sort of like I would encompass that all as like life changes, right? Like, and then but because you may like if you're dealing with seniors, that may be your lane, and you may not be dealing with the babies. So that's why I'm segmenting them. But you could just say life changes to sort of make it simple. Annie, I cut you off. I'm sorry about that. What were you sharing?
For good clubs, like if I belong to a gardening club, so things like that.
Can we say like socialization / clubs, like something like that? Because that can incorporate going to church, that can incorporate going to a PTA, like anything that you're going to do consistently. Okay. And so we'll say clubs, PTA, clubs, PTA, church. What about like billboards, radio? Doesn't just because we're going to put it up here doesn't mean that you're going to do it, but we can also sort of fast forward for the future, right? Billboards, radio, and I can give you some hacks on some of this. TV advertising. In the book, I go through all these in here, right? I go through every one of these I go through, but I talk, this is for business people, not necessarily for real estate agents, right? But I give you the hacks in the book of how you could take the billboards and instead of doing a billboard ad, you do like a copy and, Les, are you with me? You do a copy of the billboard as an advertisement, and you advertise that on Facebook. Literally, my buyer advertisements are a billboard of Dan Rochon being advertised on Facebook to, what did we say? Like Darian said, most likely to sell. I'm advertising to those avatars of most likely to buy. All right, so we're using the data to be able to know who to advertise it. There's magazine covers that we've manufactured with me on the front of it. Is it inauthentic? No, because I'm not putting myself on a Time magazine. I made the magazine up. That's my magazine. I own it. It's only been published once online with just a cover, but nonetheless. All right, so these are ways that you can do radio. Can you do radio advertisements affordably? Yes, but on podcast. Not on the local radio, at least not in my market. It starts around 20 grand a month for barely nothing for radio ads in my market, right? Like that, it's a lot. But you can cut it down by doing podcasts. So either way, I want you to look at these, and I want you to look at your list of what makes you great. What is your superpower? And now we're going to connect the dots for you. So I gave you, here's a format of how to believe in yourself. I gave you, now we're going to connect, like, how are you going to do that? We'll finish up with briefly going into organization building and leadership, but the majority of today's conversation is these two topics because most don't get these two, and these two are vital to be able to continue to succeed if you want to grow. Okay, so when you look at your list of your superpowers, somebody start yelling out some of those things that we have in your list of superpowers, if you could, please.
Talking to people.
Talking to people. What else?
Caring for people and taking care of them.
Caring for people and taking care of them. I love it, Jane and Marilyn. Good. What else?
Problem solving.
Problem solving. Love it. What else?
Problem causing. Sorry, that was.
That's what Kate told me. She's like, yeah, that guy.
I control supply and demand. You know?
What else you got?
Motivating people.
Motivating people. How do you motivate people, Annie?
I feel like it's just something that I naturally do. I connect with people, and I guess it goes with the problem solving and things like that.
Okay.
I love
Connector, problem solving. It's not, and every one of this. I like it. We'll just stop at it. I want everybody else to make sure you have yours in front of you, right? But let's say, Annie, say what yours were again, please.
motivating people. I helping people, motivating people, gardening. I like nature, outdoor, family, leading people, connecting with people, and problem solving.
Okay, fantastic. When you look at these back here, and if you're coaching Annie, and you know that Annie's really good at connecting with people, you know that she likes to get outdoors, you know that she likes to solve problems. Of these options, which of these options align with who she is? Initially, what comes up to me would be networking. I don't know if we even wrote down events on here. We missed events altogether. So events.
I farted, I'm sorry.
What'd you say? Did somebody share something I missed?
I think they just had the audio
Yeah.
on and they were having
All
a
right, cool.
conversation.
That's cool. That's cool. That's it. So we got networking. We've got events down here. I don't know if you can see that. Can you guys see that down there? Here, events. Okay. So we got networking events. I'm glad the legs didn't fall out. That would have been a disaster. These are some things that Annie could do. Maybe develop a gardening club. Maybe do a gardening club on Facebook. Okay, a local marketplace gardening club, right? Where it's a community. Okay, so these, if I was Annie and I was working with Annie, that's the way that I'm going to take a look at this. I'm going to say, what are my superpowers? What do I like to do? Now, how do I put that together in the lane of business? Okay, so if I'm going to be the gardening business, I'm going to make sure. Guess what? Really make sure I'm in the in charge of that group. Why do I want to be in charge of that group of any community group?
Seen as a source of knowledge or, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're seen as authority. You're seen as somebody to trust, and you get to control who comes into the group. Right, that's sort of vital. Right, because you want to make certain that that group's gonna. If you're doing this to find business, you don't want me in that group. Okay, you should probably kick me out of your group, but don't kick me out. Don't kick me out. All right. So Annie, so as I'm giving you these ideas, how does that feel to you?
That feels like things that I have been doing and that it feels right. Open houses is also another one that works usually well for me as long as I take time to go and do them.
Yeah. Open houses, as long as we take time to do it. All of
And
this
have a
work.
system.
Yeah, I once upon a time when I used to own a real estate brokerage, I was sitting in a room full of owners and a room full of CEOs. And one of the CEOs says, "Hey, I don't like to cold call to recruit." And I shot across the room. I was like, "Well, then don't." And her boss, the owner of her brokerage, looked at me like he wanted to kill me because I shouldn't have said that, right? Because it wasn't appropriate. Yet, what I didn't get the chance to say was the second part of it was, well, don't do that, but you got to do something. All right, that's the piece of this, right? So it's finding out what you will do is really what we want to be able to discover. And the reality of it is, if you like doing it, you're more likely to do it. If you don't like doing it, I guarantee you, willpower will not get you through to that finish line. It will not. Pure brute force won't work. You got to enjoy doing it. Are we all aligned on this? And you have to do something. And oh, by the way, 5 days a week, 1 to 3 hours a day. 5 days a week, 1 to 3 hours a day. 5 days a week, 1 to 3 hours a day. How often do we take our time to invest into our business? Somebody tell
Five
me?
days a week, 1 to 3 hours a day.
Consistently. I'd rather see you do 1 to 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, than to do 10 hours a day and nothing the rest of the week. You'll be more effective to do it consistently. It's sort of like if I go to the gym today and I come out of the gym at midnight, my body's going to be destroyed and hurt rather than healthy. If I go an hour today, an hour the next day, an hour the next day, take a day off and continue to do that, I'm going to have a fit body. It's through consistent effort, more important than surges of effort. You guys all good with that? All right, fantastic. Now, that being said, let's go ahead now that we understand like how to be able to go from this check mark from this to check marks every single a month, right? So that's your lead generation. I told you that we're going to talk a little bit about building an organization and a little bit about leadership. And we're running sort of towards the end of time here, but it's really important that we understand how to do this and understand that many of us, probably almost most of us, if not all of us, are probably over here where it says individual. Some of us may have already been developing a team or may consider that we want to build a team. And what many people who are really successful at sales end up doing is instead of developing a team, they develop a group. And what's the difference between a group and a team? A group would be if I took all of us and I said, okay, all of us, we're going to all work and we're going to be in business together. But I don't know Marilyn's goals. I don't know Sarah's goals. I don't know Cindy's goals or Yuka's or any of your strengths or any of your ambitions or any of the way that you like to be treated. I don't know any of that. I'm just taking all of us and we're going to put together on a team. We're going to be successful. What's going to happen there is you're going to not be successful. And in fact, you're going to take a step back. So that's the mistake that people make when we build our teams is we're not selective about who we build our teams with. So without going too deep into it, and in all seriousness, get the book if you want to really understand how to build this, because I go into that extensively. But if you want to be able to just merely understand how to be able to get a couple of people working together to go in the right direction, where do you start? What's your starting point on that? Who has a guess of if I want to find 3 people for us to work together, what's the first thing I should do? How about this? How about know who I am? What we do is we sit there and we say we want to hire somebody and we consider who they are without even considering who we are. Well, you're already handicapped. They may be great, but the two of you may not be aligned. So you got to focus on yourself first. What do you value? What do you believe? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? How do you want to achieve it? What I'm giving you is simple terms for business terms that we've all heard that we don't necessarily quite understand. A vision. What's a vision? That's where you want to go. A mission. What's a mission? That's how you want to get there. I'm going to do 3 open houses a month. That's my mission. That's how I'm going to be able to get to 3 open houses a month. I can do probably a good 20 transactions from that a year. But let's say you're less, effective or whatever. I'm still going to do 10, whatever the case may be. Okay. That's a mission. How do I want to be treated? That's culture. Okay. So it's taking a look at me first and what are my values, beliefs, perspectives. Then what are my weaknesses? We went through what are your strengths. You wrote that down on a piece of paper. You would do a separate exercise with what do I suck at doing? All right. Then I want you to write down these 11 things on that piece of paper. These are really vital. I'm going to give you your job description. So when you need to hire, when you hire whenever you want to hire, get a virtual assistant and make sure you train and treat them right. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to write 5 things that make you money in business. Number 1 is to lead generate. Number 2 is to convert those leads to meet with you. Number 3 is to go on appointment for the purpose to get hired. Number 4 is to negotiate. And number 5 is to practice your scripted role play. That's CPI time, consistent predictable income time. Lead generate, convert the leads to meet with you, go on appointments to get hired, negotiate, practice your scripts and role play. Those 5 things are the only 5 things in your business that make money. So as you go through your day, if you sit there and say, who do I hire for? It's everything else that's outside of that, that's in your business, on your business. Okay, so now we're going to work on your business. Now, so we went from the sales professional to the business owner. Many of us will always be sales professionals and never business owners, and that's fine. Okay, but the reality of that is if when you stop working, you have nothing. If you want to go on vacation, you're on your computer or on your phone. Okay, that's the reality of that. If you want to get past outside that reality, then you focus on these 5 things. Recruit talented people to me. Select the right people to be in business with. Train those people so they can reach their goals. Lead those people so they know how to think so they can reach their goals, and motivate those people so they can reach their goals. So I'll say that one more time. Recruit talented people to you, select the right people to be in business with, train them so they can reach their goals, lead them so they know how to think to reach their goals, motivate them so they can reach their goals. So now you got 5 things that make you money, 5 things that build your business. The 11th thing, which are applicable to both, is to manage your money. So I gave you 11 things to focus on. Some of us will only do the 5. Some of us will do all 11, or 5 plus the 6. Hopefully we all manage our money, right? So some of us will do the 6. Some of us will do the 11. Okay? And that's how you know how to build and scale a company. So it's about what are my strengths, what are my values, what are my beliefs. That's where I'm hiring. I'm hiring those people. And I'll give you a shortcut of my personal beliefs of who I hire with the acronym called SCARLET. 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 Self-starter, competitive, assertive, relationship-based, SCARLET. Learning-based, that's a capital L with a little E, T for team player. So self-starter, competitive, assertive, relationship-based, team player, learning-based. I got the T and the L screwed up there on the last one. So that is the traits that you're looking for when you're hiring. All right, let's wrap all this up, and then I'm going to take 3 or 4 minutes for questions. And so let's wrap all this up. In business, in leadership, you want to be able to identify, this is in sales as well, what is somebody's fear or pain? what is their desire, and I'm going to be able to position myself, whether if it's a leader of those that I'm leading or a leader as a sales professional, that I identify what are my prospects' fear and pain, and what do they want? Their fear and pains, they're scared about relocation, they're nervous, they're anxious, they're eager to get going, they're concerned about the transition, they're worried about their kids' school, they're apprehensive about a new job, they're stressed about a relationship. And oh, by the way, I haven't even said 3-bedroom, 2-bath yet. And that's what most agents are taught to be able to discover. No, well, yes, but that's surface level. And when you choose to go deeper, you'll be able to be equipped to teach to sell. All right, and that works in leadership, and it works in sales. So look at what I'm doing there. I'm not worried about 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Yeah, that's a basic function. I'm worried about, are they tense about money? Do they have memories associated with this home? And you only discover that by asking straight, smart questions. So none of us have a work problem. We have a structure problem. And I'm taking business and I'm putting it into a structure for you. I'm giving you the models for you to be able to learn so that you can build a business. If you look over here, when you learn how to believe in yourself and lead generate, you can make a good living. When you
I was
add on
gonna,
top of that some scalability and some organization building, you can make a lot of money. And when you learn how to teach other people how to think so they can get what they want, you can have an infinite amount of impact and make as much money as you desire. So if you want consistent income, a real functioning team, calm control, and clear connection, then I recommend that you get my book, Teach to Sell. And I'm going to leave that on the screen there for you. And you can either go to www.teachtosellbook.com or you can go to that QR code. And when you do so, I'll give you a $10,000 free digital training. It's not free, it's $19 for the book. You get the digital training. And the book is being launched on June 23rd. So we're doing those pre-orders with that digital training offer, which I'll go through the 4 pillars. It took me around 5 years to put that together. We used to charge 10 grand for that course. What questions, what comments, what ahas do you have for today? Who'd like to share first?
I was
What's
gonna
one
ask,
thing you're going to take today to use in the world? Go ahead.
I was actually just gonna ask real quick if you could run through Scarlet again.
Self-starter,
Hmm.
competitive, assertive, relationship based, scarlet, learning based. That's the L and the E in a team player.
Hmm.
Self-starter, competitive, assertive, relationship-based, team players, learning-based. I screwed it up the second time I did the same thing twice, but I got them all in there both times. You got it, Darren?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
What else? Who's next? We got 2 minutes left. What's one thing you took away from the day?
I loved the front end of it, just talking about like circumstances and thoughts and feelings and beliefs and action. And I mean, it's like every moment of every day. So I just really liked starting there, especially.
Thank you, Kate. And if you notice, I spent more than 30 minutes on that one section. Okay. And guess what? Most people start with the lead generation section and they emphasize that. And I respect that because that's vital. But if you don't have your head on straight, it's gonna be tough. Let's hear
Like,
one more idea, one more thought. Oh, Darren, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say I love if you want to change how you feel, you have to change how you think
Yeah.
and change what you're thinking about.
Yeah. And as Kate smartly said, you can also change your circumstance, which will that in of itself give you better thoughts. What else? What's one last aha for the day? One observation, one question, one thing that you're going to choose to put into your life. Who'd like to share next?
I thought it was good to look at your strengths and see what fits based on your strengths. But also,
Yeah.
I really liked the difference between a group and a team, and knowing the goals is the difference between just a group of people and a team of people.
Yeah. And then aligning, knowing and aligning. So I mean, just for clarity, it's aligning and making sure you get people into the right direction that align on values and goals. Okay. Everybody, you are amazing. I'm going to ask 2 things. Number one, well, I'm going to ask several things, but there's going to be 2 boxes. Number one, I'm going to ask you to get the book because when you get the book, you'll stop having those inconsistent months that we talked about. You'll stop not knowing where to get business. This is just an introduction, and you'll begin being able to have consistent, predictable income and put those broke months behind you. So visit www.teachyourselfbook.com. Now, my second box of requests is I'm going to ask that everyone here have the best day of your life. Be grateful, make good choices, go help somebody, If I could ever be a resource to you, please reach out to me, connect with me on social media. I'd love to be your friend. And hopefully there's a next time. And until next time, God bless you. I love you to death. Thank you for your attention today.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dan. And
Appreciate
thank
it.
you, Darian, for the introduction. And he didn't plug it here, but Dan also has a podcast on Spotify and Apple Music. And it's nice and short. It's normally like 15 minutes. And as it was today, it's normally equal parts mindset and business strategy. So check that out. Dan,
That's the
thank you
No
so much
Broke
for your
Months
time.
podcast for salespeople.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys for showing up today. Have a wonderful one.
See you guys.
Bye.